what do you call yourself?
I call myself an advocate for good training policy. So I don't consider myself a lobbyist.
Okay. So as an advocate, what do you do exactly? I mean, you're talking to government. What do you do?
What we do is we go up to Capitol Hill and we talk to policymakers and their staff on both sides of the aisle, representing ASTD, and encouraging them to pass legislation that makes good training sense. We try to bring best research and best practices to both sides of the aisle of Congress, and we answer their questions about what's happening in the corporate world or in the private sector when it comes to good training.
Okay, now the government, and like you said, on both sides of the aisle, which of course means Republican, Democrat, or anybody in between, what questions do they have about adult education?
They ask us more about skills. What are the skills that corporations are really needing to fill? What type of learning is probably best to deliver that skill training? And what are some of the best practices being used in corporations that they can incorporate into legislation?
Okay, well, that's sounding an awful lot like workforce connection type things, where people are trying to transition from jobs when they've been forced into transition. Is this kind of where we're going?
Yeah, some of the money that is used at the federal level takes people that are unemployed and tries to get them reemployed. And they're asked to the corporate community or the business communities to engage in that discussion so that when dollars are spent to re-skill workers, they are skilled in skills that employers will hire too. So we go in and we advocate assessment, we advocate training, good training. We've been advocating for the last couple of years online training, which has been really difficult to do. But we have been advocating online training as part of legislation, and we're having some luck there, but not a lot of luck there.
And I'm also hearing a flavor of organizations, corporations, for-profits, or even not-for-profits, being able to get grant money to assist with their training programs. Is that correct?
Yes, the federal government, state governments, and local governments spend about $25 billion each year on worker training programs. At the federal level, it's $18 billion, 47 different programs. Corporations that are savvy access as many dollars as they can to either get tax credit for what they're currently doing or to get grant money to enhance what they're doing. And in both instances, at the federal level and at the state level, corporations are making or getting back millions of dollars in training outlay that they've done on their own. So they're getting reimbursed.
Well, that's great news for a lot of businesses, especially in this tight economy. Now, is that only for like small businesses, businesses with 400 or less employees, or are we talking that any corporation with a training program can get involved in this?
Any corporation with a training program can get involved in this. What I have found with the clients we work with, I have found that it takes a larger corporation to do this. It does take dedicated staff to do this. It does take a good LMS system to do this because there are a lot of requirements that need to be reported back to the government.
Okay.
So it tends to be companies that have a little larger size.
Tell me a little bit about your history with ASTD and advocating for these types of programs. I mean, what kind of battles have you waged and won?
We have waged several battles and have won several battles. My personal background is with the public workforce system. I served on the local workforce board in Northern Virginia. I served on the state workforce board of Virginia when Governor Warner was governor. And through that process, I was asked to serve as a volunteer on the Public Policy Council of ASTD. My time on the council has been one of educating my colleagues on what the public workforce system is and some of these opportunities that are available to them. A couple of the wins we have had, we have been part of a coalition on Capitol Hill to extend a tax credit called Section 127 of the IRS code. And that gives corporations up to $5,250 tax credit for educational assistance to their employees. And that legislation did pass a year ago December. So it'll come up again this December. We'll have to go back and fight for that battle again, but we won that battle. We also are winning the battle of bringing more technology-assisted learning to the federal programs. We won some small battles along the way. We're trying to win more battles along the way. But I think our biggest win has been over the past 4 or 5 years, we've taken chapter leaders up to Capitol Hill with us, and they've made connections for their local communities, and they've had some of those discussions about workforce training at the local level. And ASTD has probably a bigger presence up on the Hill now. They know who we are. They trust our judgment. They know we're not up there for the politics. We're up there for the policy. We're a really good training policy. So though they try to get us to play a little politics, we don't play politics when we go up there.
Well, that sounds like a lot of good news. It really does. And having the learning and development industry, workplace learning and performance professionals represented in Capitol Hill, in the state governments, in their local governments, sounds like a very powerful place to be, to promote both the profession and as well as employee development.
Yeah, we're trying to build this community of practice at the local level. I mean, you have employers, you have education, K-12, community college, higher ed. You have the employer community who spends money on training. Then you have these programs, whether they are not run in nonprofits or they're run through the government. So we're trying to get all these folks together at the local level. We obviously bring expertise in this world. We bring assessment, delivery, measurement to this world. And we're encouraging our members to engage at the local level. So when these programs are put in place, there's more training competency at the table, speaking our language, if you will, to these folks that are deciding what to train folks in.
People out there right now that for however many years they've been with the company got laid off because they cut the training department first. So these people can actually take advantage of this type of program and get their CPLP and get back out in that job market?
If they qualify based on their work situation, yes. And CPLP has to be recognized in the state. Jennifer Homer and I have done a good job over the last few years of getting CPLP recognized in a handful of states. And in those states, yes. In some states that it's not been recognized yet, we're hoping to get chapter members to help us get it recognized in those states. And if we can engage chapters to work with state leaders to say, okay, this program does meet requirements, we'd like to get it on your list, then members in those states can go get their vouchers and go get their CPLP.
And so I have to ask, I'm from the great state of California. Is that one of the handful?
No, California is not one of the handful of states we've been recognized in.
Well, it sounds like our chapter needs to get busy. Not only getting CPLP recognized by organizations in the chapter, not only by getting it recognized by the members of the chapter, but working towards getting it recognized by the state itself.
Yes, once it's recognized by the state itself, and then public funds can be used to train people to that certification.
So, Michael, how many ICE conferences have you been to now?
I've been to about 11 in a row. I've been to about 13 total, but probably 11 in a row. In the past 6, I've been fortunate enough to lead 2 sessions on policy. The first session on policy I do every year is an overview of the public workforce system. Kind of it's a 101 session. It explains access to the resources, the grants and the tax credits. It does go through ASTD's public policy positions on some of those areas. And it does talk about Employee Learning Week. We always put Employee Learning Week in our policy session. So it's kind of a annual 101. We get between 30 and 50 members who come every year. And it's a good overview of the system. And it gets them engaged a little bit in that discussion about public policy. The second session we do every year is a panel discussion of our members who have actually won awards, who have actually gotten the money, who've gotten the tax credits. And in those sessions we try to bring folks who have gotten federal funds to support their programs, state funds to support their programs, or local funds to support their programs. So we try to teach our members that there is engagement at each level of government, and there are opportunities to get tax credits or grants at each level of government. So those 2 sessions have been pretty prominent. We've done probably in the last 4 or 5 years. We do help companies find the money. That's part of what my company does. We help companies assess states they're in. We go on their behalf and talk to the government. We'll file all the forms they need to apply for the grants. We'll file all the forms they need for the tax credits. The way our business model is, it's a win-win. If you don't get the money, we don't get our cut. So it's a win-win for the company, and we've had a couple corporations do quite well. And so that's what we do to help companies. So it's part of my work I do, but we're there really to educate the members on what's available to them. And then whether it's somebody like us who's helping them do that or they do it on their own, we just want them engaged in the system.
So your company actually helps other organizations get this government funding. So what is the name of your company?
My company's called Training Solutions, Inc. We're in Northern Virginia. We're in Chantilly, Virginia, about 20 minutes west of D.C. It's trainingsolutions.com. We have a robust website, talks about everything we do. And, we're there to help our customers succeed through good training programs.
And how many years has your company been doing this now?
We started in 1995, so I've been doing it 17 years.
Definitely a veteran. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your time talking with me, and it's an exciting topic because anytime somebody else can give you money to spend, it's an exciting topic. Thank you for being with me. C. Michael Ferraro.